So I'm working on some dice bags, and I thought I'd take like 2 seconds to make a note on some things about fabric you might not know. Ignore my hands, they're filthy behind my nails. You should always wash your hands. Mine are awful right now. I really gotta go wash them. This permanent stuff behind my nails from doing things. I played with the chickens and plants this morning. When you have a piece of fabric that you're using, that you're cutting and putting things together, or in this case 2 fat quarters, which a fat quarter, I'll cover later, but basically it's a 1/4 yard cut of fabric. When you're sewing the pieces together, you want to make sure that you match the sides, the right side and the wrong side. And this one is going to be kind of obvious because there's a seam on it about which is the right side and which is the wrong side, or not a seam, but a press fold. So when it was on the bolt originally, this was where the fold was at, obviously. But you always like to see if one side is different than the other. See how this side, the weave looks a little closer and a little more polished. This side's a little more open and wide. Sometimes it's far easier than normal others. For example, the front and back. It's obvious. These two are going to be a dice bag that I'm playing with, or pouch, whatever, used for whatever you want to use it for. But always make sure, like, for example, when I'm going to sew things together, basically I'm making a bigger piece of fabric. I'm going to find my 2 right sides and put them together. So I would sew these two, like I did here, right sides together. You can tell my trimmers are way better than the other day because this is way more solid. I've put the right sides together, otherwise it would look really weird. Another thing to tell you about, this is selvage. The only reason I left the selvage on right now is because I'm going to be cutting away from the fabric. And here in a minute, I'm just making a big piece to cut from. And if you're doing something that's crafty and you have no intention in the world of actually washing it, this is fine to leave the selvage on. This is where, when they're making the fabric, this is how they keep the fabric from unraveling on the sides. It's machined together and with heat and sometimes a binder and pierced. This is where it's gone through the machine. This doesn't shrink the same as the rest of your fabric. Fabric shrinks, especially cotton. So if you left this on here and washed, this part's going to shrink. Like, it's going to shrink different than your binding, your selvage. Sometimes one shrinks. That's the selvage. It shrinks more. Sometimes it's the other fabric, but they're going to react different when they're washed. So always remember, if it's something you're going to wash, cut the selvage off. If you're making quick curtains, however, it's kind of handy because you can just kind of fold it under and you don't have to like do a double hem. It saves you from making a seam, especially like for theatrical stuff, for costume pieces. But anyway, that's a little tidbit for you. I'm going to go wash my hands now. My nails are really gross. Bye.